Finding Faith in Funny. My name is Chase. Thank you for listening. Here we go with another episode. And unfortunately, I'm back in the walk-in closet because it's Sunday night, almost 11 o'clock, and I've done nothing for this episode up until this moment. Well, that's not true. I've kind of scripted it out and wrote down the stories and the things I want to talk about today. But again, no guest, just me flying solo, which, as we get into today's episode, you'll kind of understand why it kind of just had to be me. I mean, I could have had others on, but this is an episode that's as much for me as for anyone. Now, if you're new to this show, again, Finding Faith in Funny, it's exactly what it is. We're finding faith in funny. This is not necessarily a religious show. Everyone has faith in something. Some people have faith in a religion or a God of some sort. Some people just have faith in themselves. Whatever your belief system is, whatever political party you are, whatever, I don't care. What I care about is how does humor and laughter help you be a better person, because of things that just unite people. I think humor is one of the most important things. And so with that in mind, welcome into today's episode. Congratulations to Spain for winning the World Cup. And so now America can go back to pretending, to not care about soccer for another 4 years. No offense to any soccer fans who might be listening. Anyways, also, careful. Be very careful, because lettuce is emptying people's insides. The diarrhea virus is coming, which my theory is maybe that's just how Ozempic works. People have taken it, and now it's flushing the weight out. Pun on the word flushing. I don't really like bathroom humor, and if Dustin Anderson is listening, I apologize. Today is not about bathroom humor. I don't really enjoy it, but that might just be how Ozempic works. Anyways, so let me get into what I wanted to say today. So this week, on specifically July 21st, which is Tuesday of this week, it would have been my mom's 64th birthday, or as she would have called it, 38 again. She didn't get to celebrate her 64th birthday. She didn't get to celebrate her 41st birthday. She died when she was 40 years old, and while there are a lot of things I wish I could remember more clearly, one thing has never faded, and that is the memory of the fact that my mom loved to laugh. You've heard me reference this on many interviews, on many episodes. If you've seen my comedy, I've told stories about this. I've played those stories on here. She loved to laugh, and any obscure sense of humor I have absolutely came from her. Now, when I say she liked to laugh, I'm not talking about like a fake, polite kind of laugh. The kind of laugh that, I'm talking about, like, she had that kind of laugh that would just take over the room. The kind of laugh that reminds you that even when life is hard, joy is still allowed. Now, don't get me wrong, my family I grew up in, we weren't immune to pain. We had plenty of it. But somehow my mom had this gift of finding something funny in almost any situation. I mean, of everything she taught me, one of the things she never really had to sit down and teach me, she taught me by example. She taught me that laughter does not erase heartache, but it will absolutely help you carry it. So today, it's not an episode focusing on how she died. It's about how she lived. And I'm going to share with you a few stories that capture kind of the woman that I was lucky enough to call mom, and hopefully they'll make you laugh in the way that she would have wanted. Now, as I get into this, I heard someone giving a speech about grief recently, and they mentioned that when you lose a loved one, that the pain doesn't go away, you just learn to deal with it. Now, I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I understand what they're saying, but that's not to say that I've forgotten how much it hurts knowing that I lost my mom when I did. But in many ways, I still feel very close to her. And when I think about May 28th, 2003, I really don't think about the pain that I felt in that moment. I think about the physical pain that she was finally free of and the health concerns that she no longer had to deal with. I also believe that had my mom not passed away, some of the best aspects of my current life probably wouldn't be. And I probably, again, this isn't to sound preachy or anything, but of all the things I hold sacred in my life, one of which is my 2-year Mormon mission, serving as a missionary for 2 years in New York City. Had my mom still been around, I probably would not have served that mission. And that's a pretty safe bet, considering I was such a mama's boy that I came home from a 5-day scout camp on the 3rd day of the 5 days, 2 years in a row. Couldn't do it. Camp was from Monday to Saturday. I was home by Wednesday, 2 years in a row. Now, had I not served my mission, because she had already been gone for a couple of years by the time that opportunity came for me to go, had I not chosen to do that mission, I probably would have never broken out of my shell and learned how to talk to people. I was rather shy. And if you're going to go serve a Mormon mission and preach the gospel to people in New York City and the Bronx and Harlem, you can't afford to be shy. I had to break out of my shell. And in turn, I probably would have never had the guts to get on stage for the first time and attempt stand-up comedy. And most importantly, I probably would have never had the confidence to talk to my wife, which means I wouldn't have the 3 amazing kids that I have now. And I will never, ever sit there and tell someone to get over the pain that comes with the loss of a loved one. That's not for me to tell someone what their journey should or should not be when it comes to grieving. But sometimes it's easier to focus on negative aspects rather than the positive. But if you focus on the positive, I truly believe that the positive experiences have had a deeper impact in your life than the negative ones. Now, maybe it's easy for me to talk like this because, again, my mom's been gone for 23 years. And when I tell my mom's story, I don't tell it as a tragedy. I refuse to do that because if you look at my relationship with my mom and what my mom stood for and who she was, it's a comedy that is told through some dramatic aspects with some baked potatoes being thrown at everyone. You'll understand that. If you don't understand that, you will by the end of this episode. Now, as a mom, I can't describe the love that she showed me and my sisters as her kids. She made sure that the 3 of us, all 3 of us, she made sure we knew that we were loved and that we were cared for. And to be honest, as Lisa's kids, we were downright spoiled. She was the type of person who would pull you into an ocean with all your clothes on just because it was funny and you weren't expecting it. She did that to my little sister. She would prank call you while you were at school on April Fool's Day and tell you that she tipped the lava lamp over in your room and it was poisonous and we had to move out of our house for a few months till the fumes dissipated. And she would make you cry at the office of the school, and then she'd say April Fool's and go away. That's what she did to my older sister. Or in my case, she would make me laugh at the worst possible moments, either at church or during a serious moment at home, or when I was a grouchy 15-year-old and I was trying to sleep, she got right up in my face and burped right in my nose. Now, there is a lot of things over the last 23 years that I've thought, man, I wish my mom could have been here for that. Absolutely, when I came home from my mission, I wish she would have, could have been there at the airport. When I got married, absolutely. When my kids were born, absolutely. Every comedy show I've ever done, whether it's gone good or bad, I wish that I could have talked to her about it afterwards. But one aspect that you might not expect is that I wish my mom were still alive just so we could go watch the 5th and final Jackass movie, because my mom, Lisa McPhee, let it be known, loved the Jackass series. We would sit with my cousins every Sunday night and watch the new episodes of Jackass on MTV. And no one in that room, including myself, laughed harder than my mom at the crazy stuff that was going on this TV show called Jackass. And then in 2002, Jackass, the movie, came out, the first movie. And I skipped school to go watch it with Chad Zeliff. He lived a few houses up the road from us. When I got home that day, my mom was looking at me and she knew that I had done something. And I sat on the bar stool and she said, "Chase." I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "Did you go see that movie?" And for someone who lied a lot in his life, for some reason I didn't lie in this moment. I said yes. And I was ready to get in trouble. And she looked at me dead in the face and she said, "Was it funny? Was it as funny as it looked?" And I started laughing and I said, "Yes." She nodded, and without cracking a smile, all she said was, "Don't tell your dad." And then we never spoke about it again. Now, if you're familiar with my stand-up or you've heard me reference this in other episodes or even played the bit, I'm going to tell you the potato story. When I was maybe 14 years old or so, my mom woke me up at about 2 a.m. and she took me upstairs into the backyard. And she was excited because the neighbor's house, the neighbors who lived directly behind ours, had just barely turned off the lights in their house. You see, they had recently had a baby, and my mom noticed that their light was always on. My mom didn't sleep very well, but she noticed that the people who lived behind us, our lights were always on, especially after the baby was born. And somehow she was awake at the moment she noticed that all the lights finally turned off in their house. And my mom decided that this was a perfect time to huck a leftover baked potato at their house. Now, let's rewind the clock a few years. When I was like 6 or 7, my mom just started doing this thing where if we made baked potatoes, she would take the extra baked potatoes and we would huck it at our friends' we'd drive around and we'd go throw potatoes at our friends' houses as a family. Called it tater winging. Did this many times. People who knew my mom knew about tater winging. So this wasn't really too surreal, other than the fact that, one, it was at 2 a.m. And the other aspect that was shocking about it was this time it was with intent to wake up a brand newborn baby just because the lights had finally turned off in these people's houses. So again, she decided it was a perfect time for me to huck a leftover baked potato at their house, and she wanted me to do it. And I purposely missed the house so as to not wake the neighbors because I knew this was wrong. A week before this, my mom yelled at me because she saw me throw a snowball at a school bus and she said it set a bad example. But this was the moment she needed me to shine. And so I missed. I threw the potato to the right of the house because there was a field and it landed in the right of the house. And I was as shocked as could be when I heard my mom say verbatim, "You suck. Let me do it." And not only did she hit the house with a potato she hit the window where the newborn baby was asleep. And sure enough, that baby started crying. And when the lights turned on, before I could say anything, my mom said good night, ran up the stairs, and left me standing in the backyard looking guilty. Again, that's my mom. She's been gone for 23 years. And there's still aspects about her that are laughing. I could talk about story after story about this. And with all the funny stories I have, sometimes it's hard to remember that my mom only lived 40 years. None of us know how many birthdays we have left. We spend so much of our lives worrying about things that years later, nobody's going to remember anyway. People still remember my mom. She left an impact. But they don't remember her disease. They don't remember the battle she had. They don't remember the hospital rooms, the medications. They remember her smile. They remember how big her heart was. They remember how hard she laughed. That's the legacy she left. And if there's one thing I hope this episode reminds you of, it's this. Make people feel loved. Make them laugh. Make them leave and leave with them memories that are going to outlive you. Because someday, that's what they're going to be talking about. Someday, someone's going to sit on a closet floor at Sunday night at midnight and tell stories about you. And you get to decide, are those stories going to be for what to do or what not to do? With all the stories of my mom, they're definitely funny, but some of them might be what not to do. So, thank you for listening. And if my mom is one of these listeners down here, happy birthday, Mom. Keep making heaven laugh.